Why is it so hard to dress nice during the winter? What if it didn't have to be? Hi guys and welcome back. Today we are talking about fashion for winter, layering and other ways to keep warm and stylish. I don't know about you guys, I don't know where you're from, but around here it's starting to get a bit cold and I'm not always a big fan of sweaters, and I feel like often during the winter months I can kind of lose my sense of style because I'm prioritizing warmth, which is obviously always more important than being well dressed. I said it before and I'll die on this hill, comfort before anything else. Comfort is so important. I don't think you ever look good if you're uncomfortable. We're going to talk today about how you can marry being warm and comfortable with being well dressed. And more specifically, or maybe in a nutshell, we're going to cover how to layer effectively for warmth, comfort, and style. I dress in theme. I don't know if you can tell, I'm wearing a tank top underneath. This is actually one of the tips. Stay tuned. This video is going to talk about both layering for aesthetics and for warmth. They are very much linked, so let's get straight into it. The first tip is to invest or to prioritize buying tops that are very long. These can be worn first off on their own on top of pants. They give this really nice look of the top flowing down to your bottom half. I think that looks beautiful. And what you can do is once it gets colder, you can wear a sweater, a long sleeve top, anything that's a bit shorter on top, and you'll have this extra layer from your longer top. I recently bought two tube tops from the 5 Studio that are super long and beautiful and really easy to wear, and I've been loving wearing them underneath a cardigan or just a plain black t-shirt, and you have the extra color on the bottom, and that adds both an extra layer of warmth because you are wearing extra fabric on you, as well as a bit of a visual contrast for your clothes, which is really interesting and the beauty of layering. I took a first aid class when I was like 13, and one thing I remember is that you actually stay warmer wearing lots of thin layers rather than one thick layer, and that is because the air in between the thin layers will warm up and will keep you warm. Correct me if I'm wrong, this is ancient knowledge. I was literally 13 when I learned this, but assuming it is true, you're better off layering than wearing just a big sweater, both for your warmth and comfort, but also for your style. In this, something I recommend, and a DIY I'm actually planning for very soon, is to layer with a lace cami. Lace is so beautiful. I really think it is a material that's come back in the past couple of years, and that's we're seeing in a variety of ways. For me, it's always been one of my favorites. I've mentioned this before, but my grandma is so cool. My grandma has the best style, and if she bought a top which is a bit too short for her liking, or the sleeves were too short, she would add a band of lace. She used to wear a lot of her tops, like she'd pass them down to me because she was so cool. So I've always loved this idea of lace as an extra element, and either you can buy a lace cami, or what I'm planning on doing, because I can find any I like, and I'll keep you guys updated on this, is I bought a really simple black tank top, and I'm gonna buy just a strip of lace and sew it on the bottom, and then you have this extra layer, but it's also an interesting element, especially if you're like me and you tend to wear more simple outfits. I tend to be head to toe in black, quite simple on a day-to-day. This is a nice little visual element that adds some interest to your outfit. It's a bit of a low effort conversation piece, if you will. In the cami field still, you can also pair a cami or a nice bra, either colorful or not, with a more off-the-shoulder kind of sweater. I really like this. Again, you have the added layer from the cami, and it's elevated. It looks a bit different. There's another element to focus on, and I think we'll see less of the classic off-the-shoulder this year, but I can see a really like slouchy off-the-shoulder as we've been seeing this summer already. I think that's really going to be translated in our sweaters this winter, and you can use that to your advantage by pairing it with a beautiful, maybe if you have like a lacy bra, that can look really good, a certain color that matches maybe your necklace or your shoes or whatever. I think that can be a really interesting element and a perfect way to utilize something practical for aesthetics. Then this is the tip that I'm wearing, and that is sheer elements. This top specifically has been widely spoken about. It's an intimacy cashmere top, and it is a bit more expensive, but it works, it keeps you warm, and it is so thin. I've worn this before, it was just a bra underneath. Right now I have a tank top underneath. It looks really cool with a tank top on top as well. And in winter, I often wear it under a sweater or something to keep proper warm because it's so thin and you feel like you're not really wearing anything, but it's very practical. I'm sure that you can find other brands that do similar things, but I tested and approved. And I think, I don't know how much you can see in this lighting, but I think the tank top underneath looks kind of cool. And I think this is kind of funny because I feel like this trend of layering, it really exemplifies the way things that you found lame as a child, you find cool now. At least for me, I used to hate having to wear a little tank top underneath a shirt. I used to hate when you could see my tank top underneath my crop. And now this is my fashion tip, and it will actually like elevate your outfits and make you look more put together because there's intention in the way you dress and in the way you layer your clothes. In a more strictly layering fashion, kind of drifting away from the heat or warmth element, get pants with an attachable skirt. I have the Girl Clumsy Akari pants and I love them. I wear them all the time. They're the easiest way to make an outfit interesting. I will literally wear them with a black long sleeve top. That's honestly my go-to. And the little skirts, it just adds an element. It's just visually something to look at, something a bit different, something interesting, but in such a low-key and comfortable way. Another easy way to layer is using belts. I've spoken about this before. A chunky belt or put low on your hips, or a thinner belt if you prefer that, just an extra visual element, and it's kind of similar to the skirt. And you can also, I've been seeing this a lot, and it's really practical in the intermediate season, tying a sweater or a scarf around your waist. It's just another element. It's a new layer, but it's also practical because whenever you're cold, you can put it on. Scarves in general are such an underrated element in my opinion. You can get a bit of a more statement scarf or just a black simple one. That's what I opted for. That's kind of my thing. They're so underrated, and again, that's something else which as a kid, you could not get me to wear a scarf, and now I think you just have to get used to it a bit, and then once you realize how comfortable it is to be warm, I reach for that scarf. Similarly, make sure to have a jacket you love. In winter, that's going to be the first piece and often the only piece people see when you're walking around the street. So it's so important to have a nice jacket which you feel comfortable in and which complements your style. I'm struggling a bit to find one at the moment, but once I do, I'll leave some recs. What I have right now is a vintage Von Dutch leather kind of biker jacket, and it has like a flat collar, and I want to buy, you know, the buttons that you like clips together that are like, I want to buy that, and then I can make it like high collared, which also keeps you warm, looks cool, extra element, yada yada yada. Your feet need to be warm, guys. You need to let go of the sneakers and get some winter shoes. I have a pair of boots from Manelli, which I love, 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 and then my trusty Dr. Martens, just like the basic ones. It immediately elevates your outfit in the sense where if you wear a skirt and a sweater and sneakers, it just doesn't give the same as if it's some kind of leathery boot. It felt like such a grown-up investment to me. I felt so grown buying, and if they were not cheap, spending a bit more money on a nice pair of shoes that I know I can wear for years to come. And that's one of the articles where I would recommend sticking to the more classics because you want to wear them forever, preferably. The last way of layering, which I really, really love, is combining tights and different forms of long socks. I like it particularly when people put two different socks and interesting socks with like lace detail or maybe a little bow or something. I think it's so personal, and it's a small detail which most people won't even notice, but for those who do will really, really, really add to your outfit. And it sounds uncomfortable, but actually the warming like thick tights can be really comfortable if you buy the right pair. And what I also used to do, especially where I used to live was very, very cold, was buy thermos like underwear, but it's actually tights, kind of leggings in between. I bought it in a sports shop. I think it's meant for riders, like horse riding, but it made the hugest difference. And that's thin, and you can put it under your jeans, and no one will notice. They keep you really warm, and they allow you to wear your pants all year round without having to sacrifice your warmth, which is always, 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 always a bonus. I think this rise in layering is really interesting, as it's, I feel like, a bit of a niche part of the 90s kind of minimalist fashion that's coming back into style, and I think it's really beautiful, and it leads to these very elegant and interesting yet simple outfits. So this is a shift in fashion that I'm so happy to be seeing, And we've drifted a bit from this more maximalist idea of layering to a kind of subtle way of doing it, which I find so lovely. And the fact that it keeps you warmer additionally is a beautiful, beautiful bonus. As I say, your comfort should be a priority. I really don't believe in this idea of like pain is beauty, or like you have to sacrifice everything in the name of fashion. I really think you cannot look good if you're uncomfortable. You can't. So it's really important in the winter months to remember that being warm is good and it's important, and you don't need to sacrifice your fashion for this. Okay guys, I hope you liked this video. I hope to see you again very, very soon for more fashion tips. Make sure to like, follow, comment, subscribe. It really, 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 really means the world to me, and I hope to see you very soon.